What's up, guys? It's John Terminator with another Canon Vixia HFS20 tutorial. This tutorial is where it gets a little serious, you guys. This is about exposure. So people ask, what is exposure? Well, exposure is the general term for the amount of light that's hitting a piece of film. And since, we use a digital medium, we don't capture using film, and so it's just a term that's used to describe how much light your camera takes in collectively. See, there are two ways really to control the exposure of your camera or your camcorder, and with this camcorder, those two ways are shutter speed and aperture. But there's also a nifty little tool that's called the manual exposure menu, which will allow you to actually go in and set how much light you want your camera to capture. And so make sure you've watched my video on how to set the white balance. It's the first Canon Vixia camcorder tutorial that I've done. And so make sure your white balance is set for what you want. So I'm going to have to ask you to go to the function menu and then to exposure. At the bottom of the screen there's a little M box and then a little box with a zebra square and either 100 or 70 on it. Press the M button and it'll bring up this little Q on the left hand side, and this is how you control how much light your camera receives. The higher the number, the greater the amount of light. You can see the image is getting a little bit brighter the higher up I go. And then it gets darker. You let in less light when you go through the lower numbers. And so I'm going to go back to 0. And in order to get the perfect amount of exposure, I'm turning on this little zebra button. And if you can, I don't know if you can quite make it out, but on some of the brighter patches, I wish I had like a camcorder to record my camcorder recording stuff, but there are the parts over here are really overexposed, and so like there are all these little zebra stripes moving on those parts, and that just means that they're not broadcast safe, and that just means that they will they're just white, or they don't have any texture to them because they're overexposed. The absolute brightest part of your film should have the zebra stripes, and then press X and then film, and then yeah. And so that's one way to adjust the amount of light your camera picks up when you record. Yeah, so watch out for these, for two upcoming videos on how to use the shutter primary and the aperture primary recording modes to capture footage. And just remember, although some of you may hate this process, it's like my grandmother always used to say, haters gonna hate.